Hey gang, welcome. You may have noticed things are a little bit different over here. I think we've just achieved affiliate status. Huzzah! That's all thanks to you guys. Let me make sure you guys can hear and see all right. Just doing a quick AV check. Hey, thanks for the sub, Daraka. Tyler starting off right at the beginning. Sassy. That's how I like it. That's cracking, dude. Tame the hair. Give it time. Give it time. My hair likes to get out of hand. Right now it's tucked underneath the headband of my headphones here, so give it time. Shit gets wild. Demage, how's it? Welcome all. Goal today, finish this damn painting so I can get started on something new. I did not intend for this to be a finished illustration, but it appears I have committed. So let's go with it. Irina, welcome. Hi. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do schedule-wise. So input is always welcome. I know some of you were concerned about the international times. I think no matter what, I'm going to do at least one day a week that will be about this early at the ass crack of noon, if you will, to make sure that my UK friends and folks on that particular time zone can catch up and hang out for a bit. I have a lot of patrons that are from UK and that side of the pond, and I want to make sure that we can have some interactive crits when it comes to crit time each month. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, thanks, Irina. It's been moving along. It's not moving along fast enough for me though. So we will suss it out today. God damn it! I know I keep saying that, and I keep finding things that need rendering. You know, it's the curse. The curse of the render monkey. You can only get it by being bitten, by the way. Yeah, I understand. The normal time for me in Pacific Standard is really, really late in the UK, unfortunately. What do you think, Doroka? Raka? Roka? I like Doroka. I don't know. Makes me think of Boondock Saints. One stream behind. You gotta catch up. Do you guys like the YouTube archive? Is that working out? I wish there was a way I could edit out the intro. I'm sure there is. It's so much easier just to hit export and move on with my day. But as I kind of figure this whole thing out and get deeper into Streamland, I'll get that streamlined. No? It's a challenge. Yeah, since now that I've been... You're stuck here with us forever. You cannot escape, Tyler. As I figure things out with affiliate, because it looks like, I just started unpacking it. I have so much to learn about how this whole thing works and how, each level changes things. So I'm going to be going in and trying to personalize all of the little goodies and make it our own so that it's unique. But it's going to take me time. I'm an old guy. I'm a very, very old man. I'm kidding. But I am super new to streaming. It's interesting when I watch other streamers, I'm starting to see all this crazy stuff you can do. It's so amazing, all the interactivity. All right, so let's actually make some changes that mean something. I want to finish up her mask today, which means getting in there and kind of getting those little basket-iness. Yeah, to be honest, when I started streaming, it was straight up just for my patrons. I didn't really know there were levels either. I didn't know that it was even monetized or any of that stuff. But it's great. It's a different way for followers and students and everybody to support the cause, keep these things going. It was a fun surprise. Yeah, the only thing that was keeping me from affiliate, it turns out, was that I wasn't streaming enough. All my other numbers were fine. I might be jumping too dark here. Thanks, Taruk. Yeah, it's interesting that I kind of, I had a real sort of old man shakes fist at the sky initial reaction to Twitch. I didn't understand at all why people would watch other people playing video games, because I'm a gamer and I enjoy playing the games myself. But I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to see the draw. A very unique and different form of entertainment, and I think it's so much the connecting with other people and the back and forth. It's a really cool community. I'm really starting to super appreciate it. Ooh. Got a little paintbrush hiccup there. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's also good if you're on the fence about a game. Yeah, that makes sense too. Usually, it's interesting. I'm very rarely on the fence about a game. If I see, I don't watch trailers so much, but if I see my friends who are gamers kind of chatting about something, I'll check it out then. So I guess it's kind of that. That's exactly what it is. You're just checking out what your friends think about a game. Makes sense. Like I said, I'm really starting to like it. One of the things I've been thinking about is how I might be able to use it as a way in order to just generate way more art, because it's one of the things that I've been missing. I spend so much time doing freelance, just making my own crazy weird stuff gets kind of put on the back burner. And if I can find a way to make this work, I can start really pumping out stuff, which is a super exciting prospect for me. So I'm turbocharged. I'm ready to go and build this up. I don't know if you guys noticed, but my environs are a little different. I moved office last night in a big, hot, sweaty mess. I switched the bedroom with the office because it's a little bit dimmer in here. I don't have the skylights, which were causing me tons of problems with glare, not just in the stream, but also just with freelance when I'm working during the day. It was just too bright. So this is a bit dimmer. It's a little greeny. I don't mind. But yeah, I'm planning on decorating back behind me here as the stream progresses. See if I can find lighting, and I don't know. Maybe I'll go green screen eventually. I'm certainly not fancy enough for that yet, but someday. Goals, right? Oh, that's a good point. Being able to check out how other people react to a game that you've loved. This mask is very much kind of turning into the brain bug. I've been hearing that phrase a lot lately. Idea guy, idea lady. Very important aspect of all industries. Sometimes you can get a lot of visual noise just by scribbling a bit. Texture brush can help with that. Visual noise, you can do quick halftones, hatching to create form. You can see how you can just kind of put it everywhere. So it's using kind of a drawing technique back on top of your painting. Works great with an actual brush on real traditional media. Let's switch. Kind of want to get sort of a wicker patterning here. Are you all sketching along with me? Working on any new fun projects? Just watching? That's cool. Yeah, my thing is I'm always thinking about new projects. I have just hoppers hoppers and hoppers full of projects, notes on tons of different things. It's funny, even on the boat, when I actually had, I wasn't working in a studio, so I actually had pretty regular time to work on my own stuff. There's still always so many other things that end up kind of taking up your day, I'm sure all of you have experienced that on some level. It's just life. What are my ideas now? Well, I'm actually working up notes on a pitch that I want to give you guys for the stream. Like I was just saying, I'd like to do a project here live. Kind of my thinking is, I've been asked a bunch of times about doing a book or something like that, and I think a lot of people are expecting like a Magic the Gathering compendium or something like that, where I've just gathered all of my artwork. And they're super cool now. Wizards now allows you to do like 70% of a book with Wizards artwork, which is so great. But it's not something I really want to do. I like making new IPs. It's kind of like that's my primary focus in all things, is just making new stuff. But I've got a couple of ideas where I've been looking at different art books and formatting. And what I'd like to do is, I have an IP that's been sitting in the back of my head for quite a while, that I'd like to make into an illustrated novel sort of thing. And I'm modeling the idea very much on like a Stalinhog book, like Tales from the Loop or something like that, like a nice hardcover, coffee table, high-end art book, but very focused on story and IP development, like world building and things like that. But it'll actually have a narrative run through, very much like what he's got. And since I've never done one before, I thought it'd be super interesting to do that live, to do that with you guys, and just show you the entire process from like actually mapping out scenes from the very beginning, figuring out how to break down the production cycle, like scheduling. I mean, everything. I just want to show you guys everything, because I'm going to be learning it too for the first time. I mean, I'm aware of how this works, but I have never actually done it on my own. And I think it would be super cool, and I hope it would be inspiring for everybody to just make stuff and stop waiting for permission and stop hoping that somebody will notice, because I'm done with that. I've spent the last 20 years doing that, just hoping that somebody will see what I've got to offer. Just time to do it. And I realized, like, I've been just toying, not even on purpose, but I've been toying with this medium that would really let me do that, and I'm so excited at the prospect. So I'm working on the pitch for that actual IP. I don't want to spoil it just yet, but the idea is to do. Hi Serge, welcome, man. The idea is to do this production process with you, basically as like a production team. We hang out and talk about what to do with it. I'll figure out some way to connect it to Twitch so that you guys are involved, and we'll just figure it out. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be messy as hell, I'm sure. But the cool thing about this streaming system is if I can make it so that this is essentially the job, is making this thing, then I can focus on it 100% and narrate and run you through it as I go, so that I can help anybody that's interested in doing the same thing be inspired and see a system for getting it done, getting your stuff out there. My sort of mission, and it has been this for a long time, is just to see new stuff. I want to make new stuff, and I want to encourage people to make new stuff. I'm very focused on that. I feel like everybody's voice and everybody's stories need to get out there, and in a lot of ways our media and just how entertainment works gets really focused on just a few narrow stories, a few narrow myths, and I'm so excited at the prospect of just seeing everybody's crazy stuff and cool ideas and fresh takes. I'm starting to see it a lot more in movies and things like that. Like there's kind of like much deeper indie culture pushing out. Everybody has access to really high-end cameras. I mean, you carry one around in your pocket all the time. Professionals are showing you how to make actual movies with iPhones and shit. Like, why not? At this point, you know, the big thing that we can offer each other in hard times like this is options for entertainment, options for communicating. Turn it off, turn it on. See how the scribbling gave me little options for kind of plugging in texture, and it's a cheap way, but it totally works for creating detail, like focal point level detail. Thanks, Irina. Yeah, I'm really hoping it'll work out. We'll see. It'll be fun figuring out. It'll be fun failing. So it's a win-win. You worked on an illustrated pitch focused on storytelling. Awesome. Are you working on that right now, or was this something you finished before, Serge? Nice. That sounds pretty damn epic. I'd like to see that. I have to post links once I figure out how to turn off the bot that stops people from posting links. Yeah, this is a steep learning curve, man. The whole Twitch thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the golden leash, you know? You need the income, but at the same time, you want to make stuff. And you're trading one resource for another, right? That's just the name of the game. I feel you. You know, in that vein, there's one thing I think about a lot. So the public schools I went to here, I went to a lot of public schools in Oregon as a kid. And what was cool about a lot of them is they tended to cover a lot of Native American, like indigenous people's histories and myths and stories, and it's probably where I began kind of my early obsession with those things. And one of the things that I always found interesting that I don't think is talked about very much is that the the Pacific Northwestern peoples and tribes had an incredibly deep art lifestyle. Essentially, they had such great access to resources year round, food, clean water. It was, in some ways, it was almost kind of a not easy living, but comparatively with other hunter-gatherer societies, I mean, they could smoke, store, and maintain long-term living in not singular, but in sort of specific locales. And then they had, seasonal, the salmon run, what are they called? Cowries and shellfish, deer. Like it's a really lush environment filled with resources. And as a result, because they weren't spending as much time trying to, doing the sustenance aspect of sustenance living, they got to spend way more time doing artwork. And so the arts and the stories and the costume and everything and the ritual is so incredible and really, really, like, I'd say there's extra levels of detail, and it's kind of incredible. I just really love it. But that connection to the idea that when you have a society where everybody's kind of taken care of and there isn't necessarily fear of starvation or fear of, the difficulties of everyday life, then the arts really become super important and huge. I like that idea. I'm going to dig in some more on this wicker. Welcome, Pywire. I'm going with that. Forgive me, I am terrible with names. I choose to pronounce things in the most fantastical, Tolkien-esque way possible, just to give it just to spice up life, Quick texture tricks, like getting wicker patterning and stuff like that. It's just little X's. It's one of those things you learn when you're learning, like in my lessons on materials, I talk about texture as one of those aspects for the recipe of materials, and just learning texture patterns and then lighting just a little bit where the light picks up on the surface, the overall surface rather than the individual surfaces, can help create the illusion of it. You never want to apply the texture everywhere, just where it's appropriate for light or the shadow of the form. Let's pop it, and I want to bring in a little bit of greeny yellows or something, just to... I'm trying to create some simultaneous contrast here by punching in complementary colors and just hinting at them, and what it'll do is it creates just slight vibrations in the eye, and it gives it sort of a subconscious life. Your brain is processing these colors, these color combinations on a subconscious level. Green and red, yellow and purple. That was too much there. Oh, thanks for the follow, Pywire. I'm gonna keep trying. No, it's actually getting names right is important to me. and it's because I have a weird name, and I actually ended up like the name that I have now is a result of people not being able to pronounce my name. So it's not. It used to really bother me when I was a kid, like teachers always messing up my name. But as I became a teacher and as I got older, it bothered me less. I didn't mind my nickname, and then the nickname started to fit better than my original name. So, oh well, then that takes care of that. I'll just call you Pi. Thanks for the follow, Pi. Pi is a cool name. Cool. And because I've spent so much time focusing on and figuring out the materials on this one sheaf of wicker for her mask, I can just imply the details on the other parts because it's not really in the light. It's not a hard focal point. I just want to imply the details. So I really don't need to do nearly as much as I did. You always want to find ways to get those little gimmies where you don't need to do anything. It's just it just feels right with a minimum amount of work. Yes, faces tend to be the primary focal point. In this case, I'm using the face as a primary focal point to actually lead to my goal focal point, which is what's going on down here and the little beastie's snack. So I'm trying to use little points of light and kind of visual interest and rest moments to draw the eye down to something that is it's a subtle focal point. It's a storytelling technique. Like I'm drawing you in initially from the oddness of this image, and then as you watch and look at it closer, it takes you deeper into a creepy ass story. So that's kind of the goal. Thanks for the follow, Shuddy. Also, in keeping kind of with what I was thinking about for the channel idea. Oh man, I'm missing some comments here. This is too small. Sorry guys, didn't mean to ignore you. Yeah, my name is Ismail. Where my dad's from in Mexico, they pronounce it Ismael. Either pronunciation is cool with me, but honestly, when I was a kid, it was like always Ishmael, lots of Ishmaels, which I guess is fair, Moby Dick and all, but there's no H in my name. So yeah, it is what it is. Used to get to people when they mispronounce your name in the UK. Yeah, honestly, it's not something you can really do that much about, because when people are learning your name, they're going to be using the rules of their own language in order to pronounce it. So that's just the nature of it. But yeah, anyways, I was saying, with the book idea, or with just IP development idea, where I'm working with you guys on these projects, I was thinking that because I have so many ideas, it might be interesting to do like polls and see what people would like to see, because that would be very valuable information for me to know kind of what people like. As I've said before, that's something I always struggle with. I like to make things, but I never know what will get the response. And I saw that there's like polling tools and things like that when you make it to affiliate, which is cool. Okay, I think I've noodled totally enough on the face. That's fine. That is sufficient for what we're after. Let's clean up this just a little bit. I want to make the neck even more kind of ethereal and wrong. I'm gonna tighten it even further. This glimmer that I have on the top of the gorget is not, it's too bright. So I gotta knock it back. It's just too sharp of a detail for what I'm after. You can imply a planar shift, and in fact you must. Anytime you're painting, anytime there is a shift in plane in terms of its direction to light, you must change the value. But that said, it's completely within your control to decide how much that value should change and how that relationship is affected in the overall image. That's the value key. Let's take a look at our source again. It's funny, I've said this before in lessons, but shiny stuff always seems like the hardest stuff to paint because there's so much little kitschy little bits of detail here and there. But the fact is that those jumps in contrast on the contrast drop off really allow you to get away with murder. You can hide a lot of crimes in shiny stuff. I want to make it more blue, but not too blue, so that just means taking out some of the saturation. I kind of want to make this collar a little more Cinnabite creepy somehow, so I'm going to think about that for a minute, what I might do. I didn't do any of that here. In fact, the color here is pretty sloppy, but I was in a rush. I didn't have, God, how many hours has this been now? Like 8 hours, 9? What if... something. Nah. Don't need it. I think the horror I've established is pretty much sufficient. Again, adding detail, trying to lead the eye down. Yep, I'm gonna leave it. Whoops. Knock back some of the brightness on the left side here, our current relative left. And let it really pop on the right. So much so that we will get an actual specular here. Throwing in some warms to kind of gold up this material just a tad. Thanks for the follow, Leo. Welcome to all. Let's flip and check. Always flip and check your work. So on the navigator, we can see that little specular is popping enough right there. It's just a little bit. I'm gonna build out around it just a tad. I like that saturation, so I'm gonna focus on that. And then because we're intending this to be a reflective surface, remember that the reflective surface is going to pick up everything around it. So we cheat, we grab the local values of the things reflected. Oh, digital painting, you are so lovely. I like these kinds of kind of scribble brushes for metal because it gives you that kind of brushed or slightly dented and hammered material feel. Part of the problem though with that kind of thing, and I think with just all texture brushes in general, is that you get same brush syndrome pretty bad, and that whole section will just feel like it's not completely worked out. So I like to go in with another brush and break it up, break up some of those edges. Well, that's kind of why I exist, Irina, is to corrupt young minds. I really wish I could say that's the first time that a child has been shocked by things I've painted. It always comes back to bite me in the butt. Maybe even kind of carve in little nicks here and there. And these little, as long as you're following the rules of light, these little tertiary details can help make the material feel more realistic. And again, minimal effort. That's the goal here. I like these scumbly types of brushes. Scumble is, I don't know if that's a term everybody knows, but it comes from traditional painting. It's when you use a dry brush on a canvas or on something that has a lot of texture and you drag it very lightly, and it creates it does these little hiccup hops. The paint will only touch on a couple of things, and it makes for a cool, quick effect. So I like scumbly brushes on metal. let's follow this up. Just finish out the detail on this. I'm gonna do some of that X-Men segmented metal. X-Force. Oops. When you want to imply contour and make no sense while you're doing it. Kind of like when you're sketching architecture. I get a lot of students and artists that work with me that are interested in painting figures because they feel like they're better at painting environments and things like that, where there's less focus on making sure that anatomy is right and things like that. But a lot of the construction of costuming in particular can be very similar to doing architecture, which is just extrude, pull out pieces, add little details here and there. And we just do that with little bits of line. And you can do this ad nauseum and make super detailed, like Alex Gray style illustrations. Just pick and pull, segment, bisect. Oh, thanks for the sub, Thug. Welcome back, bud. Thanks for the follow, Pranja. Welcome. And if I can't see any of them, but if I have the stock graphics and all of that stuff for these things, I apologize again. I'm still figuring this thing out. One thing I have noticed, I think maybe 2 sessions or 3 sessions ago, I was talking about how to check your values to make sure that on different screens your values won't break. And I've been posting this image, a JPEG of it, on different social media in order to let people know about the stream. And I'm seeing that it's doing that. So I have to check this when it's done and then go in and even down some of those darks, because I'm definitely getting the little cutout hotspots of black, which was not intended. Okay. Let's just do kind of the wicker style pass, but on these leather strappings, just to kind of just to clarify, if you will, what's happening with them. And it shouldn't take much. We just want to make sure that we're getting, oops, I didn't get the right color. Let's see if this works. There we go. Just to clarify the material itself, because they're a little bit abstract right now. It's a little bit symbolic rather than anything. Thanks, Doug. You the best. It's a sweetheart, that guy. Just scribbling in cross contour. This is that tertiary detail. I mean, it doesn't need to be done. You really, at this point, I would say it's almost noodling, but we are going full illustration at this point. And you need to have these little moments that make it worth getting close and looking at it. Like when your viewer, you want to draw them in, you draw them in with that big abstract image. That's where your composition comes in. So big shot, or some intriguing element there, how the light is playing, or some interesting shapes. They look at it closer, and then you give them a little bit more, and you just draw them in, little by little. And so these last little bits are just little threads to really get them into the image. And if you want to punch it even further, you can always take advantage of things like simultaneous contrast in order to create vibrations for the eye. So we can go in and grab colors that are a little bit atypical for the area or even the material, and that added little hints of vibrancy make a nice pop. And then there's nectar to be had by your viewer. It gives them a good reason to come in there and take a good look. So you can do this across the spectrum. We can add colors from all over the place. So long as it's not like obtuse, you don't want to get too crazy. Very gently introduce these other colors. Very light hand. And it doesn't need to be everywhere. In fact, if it is, we mentioned this before, we say it all the time, if you make everything super colorful, nothing is, right? Thanks for the great explanations. As a non-artist, you like watching the art streams. Oh, thank you, Pi. I'm really glad you're enjoying them. Hopefully we can make an artist out of you. Pick up that pen, pick up that stylus, and join one of us. I don't know what the subscription gives you. I think Thug might be able to answer that. Again, this is my ignorance right now. I just haven't learned enough. I believe it's like, no, I guess you get no, I don't know what it does. Oh, I see. So the subs are actually specifically in support of the streamer. Okay, that makes sense. So it's like a follow, except it's also supporting the content creator. I don't know why the color picker is hiccuping like this. I really hope it's not my video card. Okay, so we'll turn it off. And see, I'm not adding a whole bunch. I'm just kind of unifying where the lights are at on the thing and creating a little bit of texture. If you have Twitch Prime, is it a limited number of subs you can have? All right, let's jump down to the next one. The subs are a paid monthly subscription. Oh, so I got to get on these emotes and make sure that I have unique stuff for subscribers, huh? Yeah, I have a lot of homework to do for this in order to really up the personalization and value. But I didn't even realize that was something that you got. Okay, good to know. So much work to do. Oh, okay. They can be used anywhere. Well, I'll definitely have to make some that are unique. I got lots of artwork. I imagine a lot of streamers make like unique specific ones just for emotes, huh? So it would be more than just using illustrations I already have. Okay. Well, thanks for the education, guys. I really appreciate it. Oh, they're really tiny. Okay. Oh, yeah, I could do that for sure. I love that one of Gareth. That video is terrifying. That's great. So these are all from different artists? The ones you guys are posting? That's so cool. Yeah, I can't wait. Maybe I'll do some on the stream live. That'd be fun. I like the change in plane that these saw blades give to the straps, because it kind of it keeps that insectoid feel. It makes it feel like a thorax instead of just a decoration, you know? It's a little secondary read. Yeah, as you're, this is a great way to think about it, Irina. As you are doing your illustration, pay attention to opportunities for happy accidents to add to the theme. It's kind of like writing a story, right? If you came up with the idea for a story, and somebody were to ask you, well, what's the theme? It's really hard to figure that out. In fact, it can feel like you're going to try and shoehorn everything into a theme. The best way to approach it is to just write the story. And then when you do the rewrite, read through it, figure out what the themes are. And then as you are doing the rewrite, you add detail, you add mechanisms or mechanics rather to the story that help cement that theme. And it'll feel like an extra effective punch when that story comes through, and at every level that story is being told, the theme it's steeped in the theme, and it feels so on purpose. I need to do some sub bits and follow things to go over the stream. I don't even know what that means, man. Is that the graphics that pop up? Because I was looking at the Streamlabs thing, and oh my god, there's just so much stuff. For a noob, it is a brutal. I'm trying to unify here a planar shift of this arm coming forward. I can customize announcements. Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do. I appreciate you guys' patience with this. I'm so new to the whole world of this. You are the best, gang. Overlays. Oh, like, do you mean like transitional overlays and things like that? Or do you mean like an overlay that's visible the whole time, like cool little graphics around the webcam and things like that? I think I've seen that on some of the gamers I've watched. I see. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's probably not something I need to worry about too much. All right, so I've done something really, really bad here. Do you guys see what it is? I've broken the ellipses that imply the direction of the hand, which makes the arm look like it's coming forward in this direction. You see it? And then right around here, it breaks. So I've made an oopsie, a big oopsie doodle there. And it's awful. See, this is where rendering can kind of screw you over, is because you've been rendering so long and you're staring at it so long, you lose that objective view. And then you can actually ship something that's broken as hell like that. So how do we fix that? Well, I think the way to tackle this one is to not change the arm, but change the straps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them. I'm going to do a copy merged, paste it in the same spot with Control-Shift-B, transform it. And what I want to do is get the ellipses of the straps to match now the ellipse of the arm itself, which means I'm going to have to do some pretty serious rotation here. It may not, and it may be that this is just not redeemable. I won't be able to get anything out of it. It was just wasted time, but that's okay. See, it's just not working. So let's see. Let's try a warp instead. Oh, I think that might be better. Let's see. It's a little better. Let's just noodle it for a bit and see if we can get it to work. I think another part of this that's hurting is the light being picked up here. This should probably all be in shadow. Let's take a look. I may have to move the arm a little bit too and just really kind of, you know, collapse them together so that the wrists are almost touching. But yeah, it's a little off. Let's try that. Let's move the arm as well. For this one, we can't really do a full oops, let's make a new layer just in case. We can't do a copy merged with this so much because there's just so much stuff overlapping it. So if you've got stuff overlapping, that just means you just paint over it. You can always paint it back in. It's not a big deal. It actually takes, I have found it takes more time to try and paint around the thing, and it'll always be more inaccurate. So if I was actually trying to keep the tentacles as they were, keep those details as they were, it's going to take me more time ultimately. And it's never going to look as good as just painting it over again. I mean, you've done it once already, right? Can't be that hard. Yeah, the two together need to be done in order to get that arm to feel more rigid and correct. Let's see. Ooh, I missed some stuff. When someone subs, donates bits, or follows, you can have an overlay come up with that info. Okay, yeah, I think I have something set up for that already, but it's just the stock stuff for now. I just had, I mean, I think it literally jumped to affiliate last night, so, or the night before. I can't remember. Time in the time of COVID, right? Okay. Just gonna keep painting on that same arm layer. just doing strap braiding now. It's just more visual noise. What I always like about these paintings whenever I do weird sort of dark surreal stuff and I add a lot of strange details and sort of visual interest and costume, my favorite thing to think about is like, how did they do this? They must have like a bunch of vassals or something that just sit around all day to tie them up. And then I think about the design of those vassals, what they might look like. My monitor is I think this is a 27-inch. It's one of those super widescreen ones. So when I'm actually streaming with you guys, I use the next smaller setting, so it's a 1280. But yeah, the full width of this is another like 3 inches on either side. This is my first time using these super widescreen monitors because I've been using the laptop since before these were really commonplace. And for me, it feels like it's too big still. I'm getting used to it, like slowly, but half of the time after I finish a stream, I forget to turn off the narrower focus that's cutting off using the 3 inches on either side so that I'm using the whole thing again because it just feels so natural. Yeah, I have dual monitor and both are ultra wide screen. So it's like really crazy. I'm used to dual monitor, but they've always been like 1280 ratio roughly. This new ratio is so wide. It doesn't work for a stream at all because you're going to be so zoomed out you wouldn't see any of the details. But yeah, I'm not quite used to that ultra wide screen yet. Oh yeah, it's pretty epic. Alright, let's pop in some quick highlights since this is a pretty radical planar shift. So we can go even brighter. Are they angled together or in a straight line? I would not put them in a straight line. Mine are angled together at like maybe, it's a pretty shallow kind of thing about like this, but one of these is curved. So the curve really makes up for a lot of that. And the curved one is my primary monitor. It's also, again, the reason that those blacks I'm not seeing because it is showing a greater deal of gamut than my other monitor does, for instance. So when I save for web from here, everything looks smooth, but then when I go to a monitor that doesn't have that same gamut, it crunches a lot of those darks, which is something I'm going to have to account for once we finish. Yeah, and the angle is, if it's in a straight line, I noticed, because when I set these up, damn it. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that, gang. When I had them flat, which looks nicer, it looks very neat when they're flat side by side, I found that I kind of had to do this like back and forth leaning thing, and it doesn't work. So having one straight to your work arrangement for your posture and everything is great, and then having one that's angled at 20 degrees or something like that is fine for me. I wouldn't worry about presentation of your workspace at all. Absolutely worry first about comfort and making, because you're going to be sitting there for hours and hours on end, right? Noticing also that part of my lack of correct angle is that I didn't paint the straps onto the other arm correctly. Got to get those ellipses in. It's tough. Comfort's king. Oops. Quick masking. Am I looking straight on one monitor and the another one to the side? No, it's fine. These are great questions. I'm looking, I'd say, mostly straight on to my main monitor. The problem is just I like the monitors very close to each other, especially when I'm using both simultaneously, like this, where I have the chat right here on the edge of the secondary monitor. I want to be able to quickly check it. I would say. When I did it initially, they were further apart, and I had one that was set vertically. But yeah, like this, that angle, it's got to be right at the side. I like them almost connecting. The mount that I have they're like, the mount is too organic, if you will, to get perfectly aligned. You just gotta let it go. But yeah, my primary monitor is more straight on. The secondary monitor is the one that's tilted. It's not as straight on as I'd like it, but that's just the nature of the beast. So I'm sitting a little bit more to one side of my desk in order to make it more straight on. All right. Still not quite right. No worries. Happy to help. All right, let's leave that alone. We're definitely noodling way too much there. In fact, I'm going to knock back a lot of what I just did. I'll keep the detail, but I don't want the value to pop as much because I don't want it to contrast too much with the head of my beastie here and the hands, the details that will be coming in over top. Let's leave that alone for now. Let's paint back in what we lost with the arm. Easy way to help with your overlap when you've got something like these tentacles overlapping the arms is to make sure that the parts that you light cross over the lit parts of the other object. Meaning, it would be very easy to let this shadow, let's say, drop off there and just light that top part. And that's fine, but one of the things that can really help communicate the separation and overlap of these things is to ensure that you imply that by changing the relative values. So I'm using the light to come over this dark part here to show for sure that this thing is coming out in front. It's a little thing, but it can add a lot. We lost our cast shadows. Of course, the opposite is also true, bringing a dark over a light. And sometimes it's good to just let something fade and pool your values for artistic effect, lost and found edges instead. It's up to you, and it's the right time, right situation kind of game. I want to imply that some of these are actually gripping the arm. So the way to do that is kind of like an octopus tentacle. You want to have the belly of the shape of the tentacle spread. So if you're looking at it in cross section, you know, it's a tubular object like this. So this is a cross cut, right? What you can do to imply pressure is flatten one side. Your center is still bellied, and then kind of stretch out the edges like this. And by doing that, it gives it a look of pressure. And you can do that combined with changing giving a planar shift to the surface that's being squeezed. And the two things together will really give the effect that there's a pinch happening. So what we could do is, just by applying that little pop of light there on the top edge, we can do that. And then we can also do a tighter shadow on the flesh itself. Gives it a nice pinchy feel. We're getting really close to doing our final accent values for the creature's tentacles. How are we doing on time? Yeah, this should work out good. Don't like that. Hey Dan Rob, welcome. Yeah, it's definitely gotten a little out of hand. So I can add little kind of highlights here and there. I don't need to do the full rendering, just to imply other smaller tentacles kind of poking out here and there. I'm going to do a spread tentacle here. So there's a lot more value separating there. Save. All right, just like we did with the bits of mouth and blood there, we're going to go in and start adding speculars. See if there's any missed opportunities here. No, I definitely want there to be blood and the blood be separate than the tentacles. So I don't want to overlap too much. I have an old value here that's not working, so I'm going to get rid of it. It's just creating a bit of artifact. Ambient occlusion. I have a feeling these are going to be some of the darks that I'm going to have to knock back that I'm painting in right now. They're just a little too black. I'm adding little hatches to kind of help imply the three-dimensionality by changing the angle following the cross section. The cross contour, rather. Using drawing techniques to help with my painting. Okay, pretty good. New layer. Grab a scumble brush. I want this to be these colors that we're about to do, that we're going to add as a bright specular. I want them to be alien to the shot, also to the overall key of the color key that I have established, because again, this is meant to be an uncomfortable, strange focal point. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that these colors don't necessarily belong to help draw the eye there. So one of the things that I regularly teach is to make sure that your colors are behaving harmoniously, and that when you're using one color in one spot, you want to use it elsewhere. This is for several reasons. The primary ones being that your image will look more harmonious when a lot of similar colors are spotted throughout the image, and it will help imply that the light is bouncing around in that image, and that's really what is happening when we're talking about a color key. If you take the color key in a photograph, the reason for that is because light is bouncing around off of all of the same stuff, and everything is being hit by that same kind of light. And when that light is not harmonious and behaving all together, it stands out. Usually it looks artificial, which is something you can choose to do as a cinematographer or photographer, for instance. We can do that too in illustration, and you want to make sure that you only do it on purpose. It can't be an accidental thing. So we're introducing a color specifically for its alienness, and it's specifically for an alien moment. Now, if you look at the value here, right, so hue, saturation, brightness, we can see that the brightness is set at 50%. It is not bright for a specular. So zooming out, if we look at the grander thing, it barely shows these blues that we're adding. But the fact that the color is so different, it kind of draws your eye. Do you notice that? We're going to go in and we're going to paint on top of that with actual proper popping speculars, but those will follow the rules of light as we've established them. What we are doing now is kind of painting a local color that only behaves here. Only exists here. We could also do kind of a glitter effect, which is really fun with tentacles or shiny things. We can so we've got that blue. Let's throw in, kind of like we did with the leather, let's throw in some strange colors that don't necessarily match with the base color that we're establishing. But if we do it gently, just a little bit, what it does is it gives us this kind of cool, like, glitter effect. And again, it just kind of makes the person's eyes go, ooh, ooh, juicy things. Let's get a green in there, why not? Let's live a little, let's be crazy. Let's do red. This is cosmic horror, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to follow the rules of physics. Let's get that blue back. I've let everything else kind of dominate now. You guys can kind of see why I save this stuff for the end now, right? This is the fun part. Well, this isn't even a jittery brush. This is, if you look at the effect of it, it's like a scribble. So the brush itself, the double brush, the secondary brush, is just a bunch of scribbles together. So all it does when you're pressing lightly is create a scumbling effect. A lot of getting these different kinds of brushes to work is mastering what works best for the brush in terms of pressure, like how you're actually making the marks with your hand. A lot of the best, juiciest stuff that will come out of a brush comes from being gentle or kind of going over something again while holding the same stroke, which changes the double brush effect. It just requires a lot of playing with it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right, now I want to do just some kind of gross fill here. These in-betweens, these dark moments in the tentacles. It's not meant to be the hand necessarily. Maybe it's just like pooling blood. We'll get to that. I'm just planting the seeds for it using the correct value and saturation and hue for what I'm intending, which will be little kind of inlets of blood or plasma that I can throw in little tight speculars on to kind of create undulation of the form and really sell the like messy, slippery sliminess of this. Because the slime, how slime really sells you on its grossness is that the speculars live on the hill, but also in the valley, that the slime is connecting two objects together, and it's pretty gross. What's the little fella's name? Montgomery. He goes by Monty for short. He's a fluffy horror. Lil Monty. I think we've just established one of our emotes. We're gonna have to make some Monty emotes. Oh goodness, I do make myself giggle. So my light source is kind of a warm a warmish white, I'd guess. I want my speculars to reflect that light source. I don't want to kill the colors that I've established so far. Remember, the brightest brights that I've done with those blues was 50%, so we're jumping up to 75% in the value. Let's go ahead and make a new layer, just in case we fuck up. I'm gonna save. Yeah, that was just made up. Just checking to see if it breaks. I think this might have too much hue in it. So I'm cooling it off. And now it's kind of gone in the other direction. Let's bring it back just a tad. Okay, that looks about right. Speculars are the best part. The speculars are the juice. Monty's a hungry little fella. That's what you gotta learn. If you ever adopt a Monty, understand. He's a chewer. So I'm going to do a couple of quick in-betweens to show you what I mean about the gel, the slime, right? So getting in and kind of adding those speculars and those in-between points where I've put in just a little bit of that ruddiness to the red. It's the making sure that the speculars pop in the valleys as well to really establish sliminess. Everybody thinks about the hills getting the tentacles slimy by hitting it, but it's the in-between parts that really make it gooey and gross. What's the heroine's name? Dasha. She's Dasha the Bleak. I like it. Dasha the Bleak and her pet Monty. When two boobs ain't enough. That's right. You guys will have to remember the names for me, because while I can come up with names super fast and crazy easy, I never remember them. Dasha the Cabbage. I like it. Dasha, Duchess of Cabbage. Well, you'd be surprised to know that Monty has several close relatives that are sharks. Judging by how he feeds, though, I'd say his direct lineage probably is a hagfish. You want to talk about slime? You guys should look up the truck accident where hagfish fell out of a truck. Hagfish have a defense mechanism where they not emit. What's the word I'm looking for here? They ooze slime. It's, I don't remember the exact amount, but like per individual eel or fish, they can emit like 2 kilos or something like that of slime, and it's really fast. So, and it's a defense mechanism, so they do it when they're upset. So they had this truck that was transporting a bunch of hagfish, and it overturned, or one of the trailers fell off or something like that, and the entire freeway was completely covered in hagfish slime, which is super viscous and really thick and gross. They had to shut down the freeway to clean it up. It's crazy. Also, always remember that when you're doing speculars, it's not you don't want to do speculars everywhere that logically there are speculars. You want to do them kind of within a focal region, and then just hint at them as they kind of turn away from where you really want the attention. If you follow it exactly as you would, like, you know, photo style, like going for photorealism, it will look cool, but it will also create so much visual noise that your focal point can get lost. So you want to use it judiciously, here and there, just to really accent your intended shapes and the intended read. This is another good opportunity. I'm going to erase out a little bit just to show you kind of how to do this, the valleys. So there's this overlap here, right? If we pop speculars in the valleys where the things connect, it makes it look like there's this goo in between, and that's where your slime lives. The slime is kind of a transparent thing, so you want to imply it with the speculars that are in between. Thanks for following, Autar. Just scumbling on. One thing I've noticed with really good kind of goopy things, you can see this on images that I painted, like if you look up chicken dance, the head of that is kind of a, what was that inspired by? I think it was some kind of, Architeuthis vampirus, I think, the vampire squid, and a couple of other really weird looking squid. And the idea was that there was sort of a clear sack over the top of slimy tentacles. So I had to paint speculars on the sack as a whole, the hills and valleys of the sack. Also leave space and separation so that the interior tentacles would also get speculars on the hills and the valleys of those. And it was really complex, but I managed to get it. I think I got it pretty close. So we're gonna try to get a similar effect here, just kind of this layering of sticky, icky goodness. Oh, but what I was going to say, that before I got into the chicken dance thing, is one thing that I found that's really good is to, with goo and slime in particular, find a way to pick a point where you're going to have your biggest mush of specular. So you can kind of group it together, and it gets a big slime effect. Like, let's say this is the kind of our focal point of impact from the light source. So there can be one or two parts where you get really thick with the specular. This may not be the spot, but I'm just trying to, this may even not be the image where you would do something like that, but just trying to get that idea across. And it's kind of like what you can do up with speculars on metals. Like, find a place where the light can pool and give you a really good sharp-edged hotspot, and it's a really effective way to get a good specular read. I don't think this image is the one for that, just on account of this is meant to be kind of like a surprise reveal when you get closer and look closely. How is slime testicles differ from other highly shiny objects? I'm gonna guess that that's a I'm gonna guess that's a mistype. It's all right. That's funny. How do they differ from other highly shiny objects? They don't necessarily. I mean, it's just paying attention to the subtle differences. It's not huge differences, just subtle differences in how light behaves on those materials. So you can do all sorts of things that imply And again, it's like personal taste. The thing that's fine. Don't worry about it. Dirty. And it's my fault the kid came in. I'm teasing. I'd say level of, actually answer your question, level of intensity of slimy reflectivity will be decided by, it'll be decided stylistically based on what you're looking at and the conditions that they're in. For instance, if you're painting, if your reference for tentacles is an octopus that's in the water, it's not going to look like this at all, because what we're seeing is that the thing that makes the thing glossy is the removal of any texture. So the water or the slime that's on top of it is kind of goopy, and what it does is it smooths out all of those bumps and then gives you just this sharp line that represents the specular. So if it's underwater, you're not going to see that because the water is everywhere. It's in between you and your view, the camera lens or whatever, and the object being lit. Oh, this reminds me, I'm going to have to talk to you guys in the near future about anybody that wants to do moderation for the chat so we can prevent nonsense like we're seeing right now. It would definitely need to be somebody that can be there, or groups of people that can be there for most of the gatherings, most of our stream dates. I'll figure it out. It's something I was just told about that I need to do, but I'll look into what's involved and all of that stuff, and I'll get back to y'all, and we'll get you guys involved here as mods. Meanwhile, apologies. Many of you, especially my patrons, are very familiar with my deep-seated hatred of advertising. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is at least like 2 or 3 people that are willing to help out. And then, of course, you know, when somebody needs to take a break or isn't available for whatever reason. But to start, just a couple would be really helpful and appreciated. Cool. Thanks, Irina. Thanks, Pi. Well, like I said, I'm going to look up what I need to do in order to set that up, and we'll touch base in the next get together. All right, now I'm moving into the juice and slime connectivity between the objects, like the creature and the stump. This is an excellent opportunity. So the tentacles are pressing into the flesh, right? They're digging into the flesh and slurping around. So we can imply that by adding speculars where they're puncturing the flesh. That one I don't like. So I'll knock that one way down. See, it's the in-between. I'm implying that connection where the slime is filling. Basically, I'm painting these speculars where the ambient occlusion should be, right? Where the shadow should pool because you have two things that are coming very close to each other, and light cannot bounce around in there, so it becomes exponentially darker, right? That's your ambient occlusion. Instead of keeping it dark, what we're going to do is just pop little highlights here and there that help indicate that there's a goop in between those two objects that are making contact. It's all out there, this information. It just requires paying attention and analyzing what's happening. So that's something I teach all the time, for especially regarding materials for my especially regarding materials for my patrons and students, is to make note of these things. Anytime something is odd, that you see, like there's an interesting light effect, or you see caustics that are behaving in a strange way, be curious and try to figure out exactly what's happening. And if you really want to get deep into it, then try and mimic it in a painting. Use the effect. It's kind of like in a game when you unlock some new tool, and then it gives you, the game designers will give you opportunities to play with the tool to figure out how it works and in respect to the other mechanics of the game. It's always a great idea that when you're painting or studying anything for your artwork or storytelling or whatever, that you immediately try to find ways to use it and test it against stuff that you already know. Very useful system for learning. You're going to learn so much faster. Now, it might be tempting here to just try and I just did it, and it was incorrect, to try to add speculars to the blood that's on her arm according to the lighting of the overall image. And I'm not sure that's the way to go, just in the center. What I'm going to try and do is imply the blood's thickness on the surface that is the arm by hinting at the bevel. So I'm only... if this blood, if there's the arm, right? And then the blood is on the arm and it's covering it like a little puddle, right? Light's coming down, it's got to hit the hill of that blood. It'll hit, of course, the overall hill, but I want to make sure that I'm making note of the change in what's the word I'm looking for? Altitude, I guess, from the skin to that little bump. Even if it's just fractions of a millimeter, showing that helps indicate that this is a different thing. It is not the arm, it is on the arm. Oops. That's awesome. Now we can totally hit, we can do it here. This might be a good spot to do kind of a connecting the center material, but I think that it's going to make it look too thick. This is just like if you were to play with the Photoshop styles. The closer that you bring that bevel highlight to the edge of that object, the smaller it's going to look coming up off of the surface. Did any of you end up watching the Twitch from finding my channel on YouTube? I'm curious if that's a venue for anybody, or are you mostly using it just as a archive to check out older episodes? If you go really into details on this one, is the curved edge of the blood creating a lens-like effect, enriching the color underneath? You're talking about a caustic. And yes, if we were to go tight enough into this, and I'm kind of just implying it by adding a richer color there, but yeah, that would happen. If we were zooming in enough, you could very easily go in, create the cast shadow on the blood, and then throw out a caustic behind it, but it would need to be lighter and more saturated. The problem is that the detail of this is just so minor relative to what you're talking about. Just the detail relationship to the overall size of this image. I think this image is like 5,000 pixels or something like that, which is pretty big for, you know, like a magic illustration. But as you can see, at this point, we are painting pixels. Like, if I'm painting and I can actually see the aliasing of the pixels, I don't like it. I feel like I'm too close. But we can imply that effect, yes. That is what I'm doing right now. I think also I'm going to imply some chunks, like clotting. I don't want it to feel like sometimes when you're doing this kind of the glossy, slimy speculars I've been showing you, if you don't vary up the material by adding little thicker things here and there, like I'm trying to do with these clots, it will make everything look like Caro syrup, and it will kind of kill some of the effect. Like, we're trying to go for kind of a really hardcore gore here, but without, you know, showing guts or anything, just the gore of the ichor, however you say that. And then we go in and just throw in little clot pops. Dan Rob watches it as an archive. Cool. Oh, Irina, then you're missing out because Twitch gets rid of the episodes after a week. So if you're missing any, I think we're on episode 15 or 14 now. If you haven't seen 15 or 14, then you've missed some episodes. They're all up on YouTube at youtube.com/Izzy Medrano, I think. And you can catch up, because the only things that I know stay, and this is also new sort of Twitch stuff that I didn't really know before, is that you all, as well as I, can take sections of videos that you like and make clips. And actually that would be really valuable for me, because then if you guys are making the clips, you've highlighted something that you liked, and prospective viewers can see that stuff. I've tried to make a few here and there when I thought I covered something of note or that's entertaining, but it's just too much work for me to manage all of that stuff. All right, so I'm just adding little pops for the clots. This is also fun for if you're doing like skin effects, like you're trying to get realistic looking skin. All right, I think that's probably good enough for this juicy section. Yeah, that's so. By taking the time to fill out the primary focal point, my intended primary focal point, what that does is it comparatively everything else that is around it that's not as rendered kind of falls back a little bit. It loses focus because it's just not as tight. So yeah, that's this is basically coming into the end of the painting. When you come into the end of the painting, you want to be adding these last little touches that basically bring it all together in one fell swoop. Any recommendations for finding the perfect painting speed? Oh, that's a tough one, Dan. So when you're approaching this, it's a discipline game. You got to kind of think of it sort of as like, you know, your Brussels sprouts versus your dessert. Although I love Brussels sprouts, the going through the boring part, if you do it evenly and you do it everywhere, and you make sure that you cannot do, excuse me, the fun parts until you've finished doing all of the build up, then that's going to force you to take your time. If you can't even start rendering and doing the fun little juicy bits until all of the boring parts are sussed out, it'll force you. Oops. I don't know what happened there. I want to grab just a couple. I want to do a little bit of, again, you remember what I was saying. At the very end, I do my accent values. So that's when I go in kind of everywhere and bring everything else up to, I'll get my highlights and my little pops here and there. But because I've figured out everything else, this is just extra bits. The boring parts, I think, are generally the parts which are just kind of like figuring out the big problem solving. The noodling is kind of fun when it all starts to come together and starts looking proper. Also, I think I can misrepresent it a little bit when I say accent values. I'm gonna stretch my back. All that moving furniture last night, I'm a little stiff. The accent values don't necessarily have to be your brightest brights and darkest darks, but they can be they need to be the brightest brights and darkest darks for that local area. So even though I'm rendering out over here in this arm and trying to create little kind of cool details and little hot spots, the values I'm using are not nearly as bright as my brightest brights and darkest darks. It's a problem of not sure how something stupid should look. I think it's a problem of I'm not sure how something should look, so I try to get it down on paper as fast as I can see it, if I like it or not. And if it's something I like, I just keep it. Yeah, I guess the discovery part can be considered kind of boring compared to noodling at the end when you've got everything figured out. This can be two things. It's not necessarily a confidence issue, but it is a thing that can be solved with kind of a false bravado. Yeah, experience. This is one of those things where I would say fake it till you make it. You instead of worrying about whether or not that sketchy part will solve the problem, instead try to shift your perspective and focus your thinking on, I know that I can handle this down the line, so let me solve this now and just get it out of the way. So trust, it's trusting in your abilities to finish and make the finish work. Every painter, sorry for bumping the mic, every painter, every artist of any creative ilk will have a moment. There's a short period where it doesn't matter what you're doing, it looks like shit. Everyone. So this painting, it had its moment when I was first starting out where it was garbage. But I also knew that I can round that out. I can get to the end. I just need to pass through this part of struggle. Trust in the fact that you have the knowledge and the experience to get it to a satisfactory level for where you feel comfortable at right now. And trust that as you're working, and I mean throughout your lifetime, throughout your career, that will always be getting better, that your tastes will improve, your skill set will improve, that matches your taste, then your tastes will grow. I mean, it's this never-ending cycle. It's one of the exciting things about what we do here with art is that it's an unending journey, and it's fun. So try to remember that. Don't be confident, and remember that you can finish it, and you have what it takes to finish it. And then be confident that you'll figure it out, like that with experience, that this is all about mileage. So it's not even about this singular image. If you're too precious about any one thing, it's going to freeze you out. Then something's going to feel like it's extra boring, because then you feel like you have to do this to a certain level in order for it to be good or whatever. Be willing to throw anything away, but push it to see how far you can take it. Does that make sense? Yeah, experience. Happy to help. It's one of those things that everyone struggles with, and at every level, where you're just wondering if you can even do this thing. Just do it. And, listen to Ashton Kutcher or whoever it was that did that. Oh no, Shia LaBeouf. Is that who it was? I don't know. It was a Transformers guy. That's all I know. Just do it. Do that thing. I want to add real quick. Just do it. Thanks, Aaron. Welcome. Thanks for the follow, Aaron. You did a maths degree? Oh my God. See, I don't think I could do. That would be impossible for me. Is there such a thing as like numbers dyslexia? Because I feel like that's a thing. Thanks for the sub, Aaron. Appreciate it, man. I struggle so hard with numbers. I mean, even basic maths, really basic stuff, like kindergarten stuff. I gotta sit and think about it. I do the, my maths are the equivalent of somebody like moving their lips while they're reading. That's how I do math. It is not my thing. I want to... Oops. Yeah, there is a certain logic to that by virtue of not having kind of a set rule system, it can be tougher. I guess that's what I try to remedy is I try to make it so that there are kind of there's a rough codification of how art can work, or at least how to make images and get light and materials to behave how you think they should, or how it feels right. So there is kind of a formula to painting as well, but ultimately, yeah, it's so subjective. That is a fair point. I want to use this cloth to kind of also get the focal point coming back into the creature and the moment that I've illustrated here. So I'm going to change some of these angles for the skirt. It is a shame I couldn't get that leather armor. It wouldn't have worked for this shot. It was such a standing only kind of shape. But would be cool. Thanks for the follow, Artie. It is a struggle learning art. Fortunately, there's a great community for it. So, not having reference for this dress, I'm kind of just, I am winging it 100%. I'm just going to try and follow the rules of light and form and kind of bullshit it a little bit. But that's okay. That's definitely one thing that I need to be working on, and I should really devote some time is really studying fashion, so I have a better visual vocabulary for my designs with that sort of stuff. I do have to depend much more on reference when it comes to fashion. I just have no fashion bone in my entire body. Aaron asks, any streamer I know who does backgrounds? Do you mean backgrounds specifically, like environment art? Let's see. I'm still super new to streaming, so I don't really know names of streamers or anything. I have seen it. Mostly I go to tutorials for environment stuff myself, so that's a tough one. I know that like Aton and John and a lot of the guys coming from, and Aaron Lamonic, a lot of those guys coming from Naughty Dog are amazing environment artists and also produce videos, although I think most of their stuff is tutorial stuff, to be honest. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that does that streams specifically environment. But also a thing to note, if you're into environment work and if it's something you're looking to get into as a professional, check out the tutorials by Jama Jaburayev, something like that. He's got some amazing stuff, and I guess a lot of the environment concept art and illustration right now is going very heavy into 3D, and it's going to be a skill set that I am imagining will probably be mandatory for environment artists, but anybody, but also especially environment artists. Even me, with my old ways of doing everything, I'm trying to teach myself Blender because it's becoming the new industry standard. In some ways, it has been the industry standard for quite a while, but now it's looking like they actually expect it in your portfolio. Like, that's how you're getting hired these days. So, learning Blender. I would look up streamers that do Blender, as well as painters. And like I said, there's a lot of environment guys that do just videos. Tommy Kim. Damn it. Irina, do you remember the name of the guy that I posted on Discord that does those gouache environments? He films himself painting pretty regularly, almost at least twice a week, it looks like. Yeah, Shaddy's heavy into environments too. Does he stream? Yeah, he's got a studio. One Pixel Brush is his studio, and I know they do like concept art. They did a bunch of art for Naughty Dog's Last of Us 2 as well. Nathan Fox, yeah, he's fantastic. Nathan Fox is a concept artist, and he's done a bunch of key art for animated films. You should check out the stuff that he did for what was that movie? King of Egypt, I think. It was an animated film from like early 2000s, late 90s, and man, the work for that is so good. Never too late to pick up Blender. Oh man. I'm glad I got my new machine so I can finally render stuff with it. Yeah, the big thing I need to teach myself right now is optimization so that when I'm building models, they don't just completely chug everything out. Go ahead and do some of our color pop in here and there. Yeah, my laptop was utterly befuddled by Blender, but it was an old one. Blender kicked its ass. Alright, I think I've noodled the dress enough. I mean, it's sufficient. It's not right. I definitely have some... See, I told you guys I do this every time. I make like shapes that are the same again and again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this one. It's not, this part of the skirt isn't a focal point. It's not even meant to really draw the eye in any way. It's just kind of just visual fill. So I'm gonna use just a real big texture brush and kind of knock everything I did there back because it was not helping. It was just drawing too much tension away. Let's do a quick, one more quick glaze layer and then check where we are, double check everything. Oh, Thug, thank you. That's awful nice of you. Cheers for doing that for Arena. Oops, I already made a new layer. We're going to set it to... Let's go ahead and set this one to multiply this time and see what we get. I'm going to pick a light color. Rich in color. Or rich in saturation. It is a time for celebration, a time for mead. Let us sing in the mead halls. I'm using kind of a pink in a multiply layer to glaze down and unify, gently unify. I don't want to overdo it because remember that by adding those other slight hints of like greens and purples and other colors I was throwing in there for those little subtle simultaneous contrast bits, if you go over and you do, let's say, like a screen layer or a colorized layer and you set it to 10% or whatever, and it's meant to unify everything, yes, you're going to get everything unified, but you're going to also lose the vibration that you worked so hard for. So I'm going to do this. I'm most likely going to knock a lot of it back because I want to keep those colors, and then I'll go in opaque on top of it. Oh yeah, Dan, I made affiliate yesterday, I think, or the day before, but I had everything that I needed for it for like a month now, except for the fact that I wasn't streaming often enough. I was only streaming once a week, and their minimum requirement was 7 times a month. So I had to kick it up. All right, let's see what we've done here. You know what? I like the grays and implied greens, that simultaneous contrast that I have there, so I'm knocking that back. Gonna erase out of it a bit here and there. Bring back some of those kind of asynchronous, not asynchronous, complementary colors. That's what I'm after. Jesus. Okay, real talk time. Let's see what we're doing. Skin on the arms, breasts looks good. The metal's looking sufficient. The face looks good. The wasp nest / cabbage head is a little bit raw. Probably needs love. The tentacles, I overdid the speculars on the tentacles. There's too much, so I need to go in and knock back some of those speculars, or at least darken them so they're not as bright, to kind of capture a unified mass. Because I want to, even when you're rendering a whole bunch of different objects like hair or grass or something like that, you want to clump the lights, and by clumping the lights and simplifying the structures, it makes it easier to read. So what I've done is I've made noodles, and there's just too much speculars all over the place. So we're going to go in, knock back to kind of simplify the overall form of the tentacles. Maybe hit just a little bit more detailing around the eyes of the creature, and just a couple of hints of detail on the hands, and that's it. I think we're done. So we're gonna time ourselves. Let's say we've been at this for 2.5 hours. Let's say 15 minutes to done. That's the goal here. Oh, this is absolutely a Sears photo, Thug. A Sears photo. You know how I know? I used the Sears photo textured background. Take a look at those. Yeah, JCPenney. She's sitting there like this. And then there's a secondary image back behind her where she's smiling big and staring directly into the light, looking blinded, as if being called to rapture. All right. Let's buckle in here. We got 15 minutes to make this done. 15 minutes. So first things first, we're going to do all of this opaquely. I'm not going to be playing anymore with layers, layer styles. God damn it, whatever these things are called. Blending mode. Thank you. Countdown to bedtime. And what a thing to go to bed to. Hey. All right. That's pretty unified. Let's It's 5 a.m. where you're at, Aaron? Damn. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry for keeping you up so late. Do I tie myself often during the training in the same way Anthony Jones did? Yeah, we worked together way back in the day at Sony. No, I did do timing in school. The best thing that the timing thing does for you, in my opinion, is it gives you a stop time. If you can be disciplined and just stop when you feel like you've done enough, then job done. But if you feel like you're still struggling with knowing when to stop, timing is a great way to practice. It's all just it's just different ways to practice discipline, and that's one thing Anthony does. AJ does damn well. He's a very disciplined guy when it comes to his practice. Let's do a quick chromatic aberration. Can even do the other side if we like. Okay. So we've unified that. Let's grab, yeah. I've overdone the scumbling a little bit. So I'm going in with a color to kind of simplify and smooth just a tad some of these highlights. Oops. It's definitely sand and eyes time. I only do that for video games. Are we on time? Whoop, getting close. This is that thing I was talking about where you take the light past into the dark or the dark past into the light in order to imply that overlap. It doesn't take much to do it, but what it does is it helps imply overlap. And that overlap contributes a great deal of information. Maybe we got a couple over on this side. Some weird spines that kind of come out. Maybe uncomfortable, torturous things. She's definitely kind of like a unique-y Cenobite type critter. I want to kind of make the edge feel a little bit more floral, a little bit more natural and organic. So I'm just drawing in kind of this almost rugged, paper torn edge, which probably adds more to the cabbage head quality. By cutting into the face with something sharp like this, it's a threatening detail. It just provides a slight bit of discomfort there, a little something that looks like it's it's like the pin near the eyeball kind of threat. Okay, that's it. We are done. We have completed the painting in several sessions. What started out as just a fun figure sketch is now a done illustration. Not at all what I intended to do. But yeah, there we go. That's done. That's Dasha the Bleak and her buddy Monty having a little snack. I will be sure to try and do some kind of cute emotes or something with these, and maybe that might be something to explore later with this book idea, is to kind of do my own sort of demons or whatever, like Cenobite collection of creepy, weird stuff. But before that, I have an idea that I definitely want to share with you guys, and that we will get into. I think that will be the next episode. I'll actually have I'll have everything laid out and ready to pitch, because that's how I'm going to treat this. Is I'll be pitching my concept to you guys, see what you think, get feedback if you're interested in giving feedback, and make the plan for doing an illustrated novel from scratch right here with you on Twitch. Let's see real quick. I got some questions. So what's the inspiration for the hat? Speeding porcupine crashing into a cabbage garden. No, originally, so this was the original painting I had done. As I was painting up the outfit, I just wanted to do kind of a different silhouette for the headpiece, and I started out I think it was just a selected shape. And then the idea was, as the shape kind of filled out, it was this lacy kind of pleated overlapping cloth, and it made me think of paper wasps. Their nests that they make, which is this really delicate layer over layer of organic looking material, and so that's where this started. Yeah, the porcupine quills, I guess, were kind of porcupiney. I was thinking with the paper wasps that I've seen the nests of, sometimes they had twigs poking out, and so that's where that started, and I've just kind of taken it past that. Thanks, Aaron. Glad you dig it. Hey, Izzy, thanks. Thug asks, will you be able to buy a print from the store? Yeah, if you guys are interested in actually putting this up in your bathroom and scaring the crap out of your guests, I can make a big print available on my imprint, which I believe is imprint.com/cannibal candy. I'll have to post that somewhere. I do have a Discord channel. I will Damn, I don't know where I could post that. I have a public channel. I'll figure that out. So if you're in for the long haul, we'll get that figured out and get you guys all in so you can all chat. Um, I think it's just a link, right? The way I've set up Discord, again, I'm coming to all this stuff just kind of fresh and ignorant, like a sweet summer child, as established. And yeah, so I put together the Discord just for Patreon, but I did build a public channel and everything for it. I just never learned how to invite anybody, and thus have never done it. I will get on that and get that sorted, hopefully by the next episode. So yeah, awesome. Thank you all for joining me. It was super fun. We had a nice long stream today. Take care of y'all. When am I planning to do the next stream? I don't know exactly yet. I'm still trying to figure out the schedule. I'm definitely going to keep one day that is afternoon like this, again, for the UK folk. I'm going to definitely do one on Sunday, I think, which will be probably a longer format. And after that, I'm not sure. Those will probably be between 4 and 5 in the evening. And it's a matter at this point of which days and how many days. So if y'all really liked it, I will do more, and we can get even more done with the upcoming book. So I'm excited. Hey, Alien Vertex, welcome. You did. We're just shutting down. What do you think of the image? It's pretty kooky. Oh yeah, just finished. Thanks, bud. Thanks. So yeah, that's everything, I think. Any last minute questions, guys? Thank you all. Thanks for all the subs and follows this time around. And again, couldn't have done it without all of you. Really, really super appreciate it. Thank you. So why is my skin so soft? Because I like soft skin. You know? That's why. Are you talking about the skin of the painting, or are you talking about my delicious PL? Take care, Pie. My skin is just smooth. Just baby smooth. Smart ass. All right, gang. Well, thanks for hanging out. As always, paint smart, paint sexy. Big love. Hi there. I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons, not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks, and you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. Until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the very foundation of painting and understanding light itself. If you do nothing else to make your painting mastery easier, at least watch this amazing little lesson. It will do more for your basic understanding of light than just about any tutorial you can find. When you're ready to get deeper and you feel like you have those first rules figured out, allow me to utterly blow your mind with the next episodes available on Gumroad and ArtStation. As we go deeper into the rules underlying the logic of light and color, I carefully and simply explain important and interesting elements. From beginner to pro, there is an amazing amount of information available. Each concept has been distilled into the clearest explanation you're likely to find anywhere. Like episode 2, where we cover the atmospheric effect and how that relates to light, scale, and distance of objects in reality, and how to render it. Or episode 3, where I hand over the ultimate key to controlling value in your paintings. Episodes 5 through 8 are all about rendering materials. Want to understand the logic behind rendering metal, leather, hair, transparency, damn near anything. I even cover the logic behind painting special effects like fire, neon, or lightsabers in later episodes. The lessons just get deeper and more detailed as I build on the foundations covered in preceding episodes. The 10th gives you the most important rule of composition you'll ever learn to keep your images interesting. The next few episodes cover important painting techniques like my edge control ninjutsu or simplification with the large to small system. We dip a toe in color theory, devote a few episodes to finishing full-blown illustrations utilizing the techniques we've learned so far. Some episodes, like the lighting game or Advanced Exercises 1, the shirt, present cheap, valuable, and practical exercises to give you explosive growth in your development. Episodes 22 through 25 cover painting and illustration, just like I do for Magic the Gathering, from assignment and inception to signing the painting at the end. Each one is full of tips, knowledge, everything to make working as an illustrator easier. Did you enjoy learning how to paint basic materials? Metal, wood, and such? I got 3 whole episodes devoted to the intricate logic behind painting different kinds of skin. After that, more lessons devoted to pumping life into your portraits and original methods for accurately drawing faces out of your head. From fundamentals to photo bashing, Gumroad and ArtStation have every lesson I create available for purchase a la carte. But here's an even better way to learn with me. Stay current with my latest lessons on Patreon for the lowest price available. Monthly support gets my student that month's lesson, a critique or paint over of their finished work, a discount code for 25% off the entire Gumroad archive, and access to the Logic of Light and Color Discord community, where we plan future lessons, share knowledge, and learn together as a team. The absolute best method is to join my Patreon classroom at the Student Plus tier, where you'll get everything I just mentioned and a free episode from the archive every month to accelerate your mastery at your own pace. You've decided to take control of your painting and master Izzy's logic of light and color. Now it's up to you to choose the path that's best for you. I'll see you on the flip side. Paint smart, paint sexy.
Okay.